Gender inequality is the idea and situation that men and women are not equal. For centuries, gender inequality has been present, both in the pre-emancipation and post-emancipation period. Inequality was and is present in various aspects of life. These aspects include socially, economically, politically, religiously, sexually, and domestically.
One of the features of slavery and colonialism is that the oppressor always imposes their culture on the oppressed. This was especially done to African people, and I think one of the areas in which this has been especially harmful to us is as it relates to how men and women relate to each other. Western society has historically been a very sexist society. We see this in the ideas of some of the most influential Western thinkers. Aristotle, for example, believed that women were incomplete men. Throughout Western history, we find this idea of women being inferior to men, and as a result, women had limited rights. This included not being able to vote. In African societies, women were more empowered than they were in Western societies, in Cameroon and in Nigeria. In those countries, when a man wronged a woman, that woman would inform all of the other women in the village of what that man had done to her. The women would then sit on the man, which meant that they would constantly harass the man until he apologized for whatever it was that he had done. So, to wrong one woman in those societies was to invoke the wrath of every woman in the village. All throughout Africa, you find traditions such as this, which protected the women in the society. These institutions were undermined by the colonialists, who didn't even recognize African women.
Socialization is how individuals begin to normalize the culture, norms, and values of a society in which they are a part of. The colonial period's form of socialization may have an effect on modern-day socialization. For example, as an enslaved child, young girls working in the great house would assist their mothers in tasks such as washing, cooking, and other domestic activities. Young men, however, would do work around the great house that is associated with duties older slaves perform, such as butlering. In modern-day households, we witness rather sexist forms of socialization in simple remarks such as telling a girl, "act like a woman," or telling a boy, "stop crying, big men don't cry."
Sexuality is the way we experience and express ourselves in a sexual manner. This is usually expressed through physical appearance. The stereotyping of the two genders has been introduced since premature days and procreation. Young men at an early age are given significantly more freedom than young girls by the family or the parent to explore their sexuality. There exists some double standards between both men and women.
Another aspect of Afro-Caribbean families is the promiscuous behavior of men, where they boast about having numerous sexual partners. This polygamous mating pattern is a feature of West African cultural retention.
Moms, pops, hey, I want to go online, madam. See me and Johnny down the room. I go now?
Yes.
Alright.
Mommy, can I go through?
What? No. You need to sweep this kitchen now. Hey, pops, you have any money on you there?
Yeah, come through. Alright. So let me tell you something, right? When I was your age, I was a bowline.
Yeah?
I wanted to be just like me, following my footsteps.
You gotta teach me.
But make sure I wrap it up.
Alright.
And safe, right? Yeah.
Thanks.
And Celia, keep on cleaning.
The social status of women in today's Caribbean society is defined by their family connections as well as the men whom they are attached to. A matrifocal household is one in which the mother is the center and the mother and children form the basis of the family unit. The woman is the main economic provider and decision maker regarding emotional and subsistence household needs, while the men live at home but are mostly absent. In terms of the head of Caribbean households, in general, men tend to be in charge, and females assume this role when the male is absent from the home. Men assume the provider role within a family. Yet, in the absence of economic means, men still have authority over females. Men's authority transcends class, race, and color because authority is seen as a man's role.
I just got an email concerning the deadline for Mark's application for university. Med, remember? You talked to him about it?
I thought me and you talked about this already, Marlene. I say he going to engineering school. What are you telling me about med now?
I want him to be a doctor, and he's going to go Yale, and he's going to do med, and that's fine.
Marlene.
And also, I saw an ad in the classifieds for a secretary at this big H&M firm, and I'm gonna apply for it because I think I'll go through.
Marlene? Let's say pick up a job like cleaning somebody's house or something. You ain't going to work as no secretary. When I come back home and I'm hungry, who's going to bring my food?
During slavery, only males held elite skilled positions such as field commanders or artisans. The women, on the other hand, were considered as unskilled laborers and worked domestically in the great houses or as hucksters. Studies show that in the formal economy, there is a significantly smaller percentage of employed women than men. Women are often subjected to receiving less pay than their male counterparts to carry out the same job roles.
Janice, I really don't know how I'm going to handle this bill. I have my son tuition to pay, and we only getting paid $150,000 a month. How we could handle that? How I could pay this?
150. To my knowledge, I only get paid 100,000. How you getting 150,000? We're not doing the same thing.
You sure that's how much I getting paid?
I could show you my paycheck right here. I only getting paid 100,000.
But that doesn't make any sense, Janice. You working here before me, all kind of thing. I would expect you to be making more right now.
I don't understand this. I had to talk to the manager.
Challenges still exist, with women holding important political roles. In the Caribbean, there has been an increasing rate of women's representation in politics, but at an undeniably slower rate when compared to the male representation. Some of the challenges include ideological factors, where the patriarchal system of male dominance still exists, as there is the belief that a woman's place should not extend beyond the scope of her home and taking care of her husband and children. Countries such as Jamaica, Dominica, Guyana, St. Lucia, Bermuda, and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago are proof that women have made strides in politics despite the ideological gender inequality.
Barbados have a woman as the Prime Minister.
Why them would do such a thing?
And do it, Dunsey.
How do we?
You go put a woman that emotional, catching feelings for everything.
Everything, you know?
And put she to run your country.
And I don't think rationally who wants them in the field. That country and I'm
Boy, them going on crash.
Yeah, how do we?
Matter of time.
In some religions globally, women are not allowed to assume leading roles. Religions such as Catholicism, where a woman cannot be a pope or a priest. In Islam, where a woman cannot be an imam. And in Hinduism, where a woman cannot be a pundit. Historically, women did not have a place in religious ceremonies and in public positions. The role of God or a creator of religion was identified as male. That is, a leading, dominating figure, while a woman was viewed as a mother. One such practice is seen in Hinduism and Islam, where when a woman is menstruating or is pregnant, they are not allowed to enter the temple or touch the Quran.
When is it again?
Next month, girl.
Next month? Oh, can't wait to take Celeste now. Yeah, I'm fasting and everything right now. Hey, don't forget to take off your shoes.
Thanks, my beautiful wife.
Why are you taking off your shoes?
That time of the month, girls. That time of the month. I'll see you all after.